friends, this is the spiritual counselor. It's always a pleasure to be with us to bring to us some of the interesting aspects of spirituality. I want to congratulate everyone and all those who have been following us on the series. We had started the fire elements episode and we had talked about those who have a very strong connection with the fire element, and we began to talk about these attributes that are connected to the fire element. But before we go further today, I'd like you to subscribe to what we do here. I also like you to follow us on Instagram. Some of the things, there are certain things we post on Instagram wherein we do not post here, and there are certain things wherein we are beginning here and we will be beginning over time wherein we may not have so much of it on Instagram. But significantly, the fire element, this is one element that has been misconstrued. When you talk about fire, the first impression that people have is that these ones are violent, these people are judgmental, these people are destructive. Although, like I said when we first began, everything we are doing here as it relates to the positive, the element of our bloodline, and I said that we would not go into the flip side of some of the element, although each element have its flip side. And one of the flip side of the fire element is that these kinds of persons can be very manipulating. They always want to be in control. A fire element personality or someone who has a strong affinity in their bloodline connected to the fire element, once it comes to a place, he or she wants to be in charge, he or she wants to dominate. They want to always control what happens in that place. There is a strong connection, there is a strong attribute of possession, of control, of manipulation for these kinds of persons who have this bloodline, who have this kind of element. But we were going to be following up on the positive attributes. So one of the things also we had begun the attribute of those who have of these elements. One of also the thing is the fact that some of these persons can easily lose things. People who have a strong connection with the fire element in their bloodline may suddenly realize that monies do not stay in their hands. They could have some money today. By tomorrow morning, you are asking them, what did you do with this? They can't give accounts. They can't give accounts. They spend without thinking. They have a sense, they have a weakness in losing things. Not just money, even their personal belongings. Someone who have a very strong fire element could drop a cup, could drop a cup in the place, and suddenly he or she, or maybe even their clothes, even their personal. Many seasons ago, someone had come to me to do a consultation, and this individual had a very strong authority. As we go further, you will see the authority that these personalities have, these fire element personalities in their bloodline, and how you can awaken these authorities. And when we begin to do consultation, we realize that this individual was being troubled by their elements. I said it some time ago when we talked about the water element. I said, if nature is fighting an individual and you don't have an understanding of what aspect of nature is troubling your life, and you cannot engage that aspect of nature holistically, you cannot see results, you can't see answer. This fellow was being tormented by the element, by the energies connected to his bloodline, which was the fire. So each time he makes money finishes. He has money, but he can't understand, why can't he save? Why is it that every time I have money, I can't use it for something productive? If the moment I begin to want to use the money for something, will always happen that will make sure that this money is invested, this money is sabotaged, this money is put into something that was never in the equation. Something within his fire bloodline is attacking his finances. He never knew. Fire element people. And we also have those who have this connection or this strong connection with this particular element, usually have the sickness of emotions and psychology. They are always prone to psychological sicknesses, something like anxiety. You see, as much as they may appear very strong, very agile, very violent, very judgmental, very, very possessive, they are very frightful. Oh, they are very frightful. There is always this subtle fear within them, fear of the unknown, fear of the unknown. They have anxiety, they have fear within them. Something within them is always not stable. And sometimes they are usually very emotionally grieved. When we started, I told us that fire element persons are people that do not have successes in relationship most often. But like I said something. I said that oftentimes most individuals, no one has just one element connected to his life. You could have two, you could have three, you could have four, but significantly there is always one wherein your star is vibrating from part time. So maybe in your bloodline you could have water, you could have fire, you could have earth, or a whole lot of things like that. But maybe your own star is mostly projected or mostly in alignment with fire, with the fire element. These people, you have to work harder for you to have a good relationship. And so they always have emotional grief. They always have emotional disappointment, heartbreaks. They may appear very strong, but are emotionally very weak. They are very sensitive to words. They are very sensitive to things emotionally. So perhaps this is why they now have a wall in front of them that makes it look like they are strong. But if you are able to permeate that wall, you see that they are very soft. They are very weakened. The fire element. We want to talk about what you can do for those who have these elements. What must you do to enhance the authority within this your element? Stay with me. I'll be right back. So if this is your first time, I always say that you can always subscribe and follow us, what we do on Instagram at Spiritual Counselor. This is the practicality. We're going to be practicalizing some of the things in alignment with those who have a strong connection with the fire element. So if you have a very strong connection with the fire element, perhaps in your bloodline, there are many kinds of things you can always use to enhance this authority. But one of the major thing is the use of bitter cola. This is bitter cola. And you must understand that each element has its number. That's what we call elemental numbers. In spirituality, it's called katan, elemental numbers. And each element significantly at different dimension of existence had its number. So the fire element have got the number 6 and the number 12. Everything that you will be doing, perhaps if you've realized that your star has a very strong connection with the fire element in alignment with your bloodline, always end after 6 days, or repeat it for 6 times or 12 times. So for this process, one of the things that you can always do to enhance your authority as it relates to your fire element is by using bitter cola. There are many ways you can use this, but I'm going to share perhaps 2 or so. And so you can chew it, you can chew a portion. But now, should you want to chew this bitter cola, you see, in different spiritual processes, one element can be used to solve diverse spiritual mysteries, but you must have an understanding on its application, or about its application. You can use water to do so many things, but you must know how you can use water when it comes to somebody who's having bad dreams, and how you can use water when it comes to somebody whose path has been blocked. The same element. The Bible said that when the Spirit of truth shall come, talking about the Holy Ghost, he shall teach you all things, including the deep things of the Spirit. There are deep things of the Spirit. You must have an understanding on how to use these diverse elements depending on that which you want to achieve. So for the fire element, the number is the number 6 and the number 12. So firstly, you get 6 bitter cola. So like I said, now if you want to use bitter cola for diverse kinds of things, you can chew it anyhow. But if you want to use it to trigger the elemental power which is connected to your bloodline as it relates to the fire element, this is how you cut it. You get a fresh new bitter cola, you cut it here, then you cut it the first edge and the second edge. You see it? You cut it from the first edge and also cut it from the second edge. So contemporarily we could say the head and the bum bum. The head and the bum bum. Then you chew it. So you can, that is the first process. By chewing it, you do this first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning for 6 days or for 12 days. You must not miss. If you're doing it for 6 days, then you do it consecutively for 6 days. First thing in the morning, you cut the head, you cut the bum bum, and you chew. Then you make prayers. Every authority within my bloodline, if there is a fire energy that instead of working for you, it is now working against you, this is also an instrument that you can use to correct such abnormality. If there is a fire authority within you wherein it's not even working, it's not even responding to you, but you know that you have this thing, this is also a way at which you can trigger that element to work for you. First thing in the morning, before you speak to anybody, you chew the head and the bum bum. You chew it very well, then you make utterances. That's the first one. The second one is also through the use of bitter cola, but in this time you will need 6 bitter colas. 6 bitter colas. You see, this process is the on my Instagram I have taught so much about the significance of our stars and the importance of feeding our stars. If you are a fire element and you play around feeding of your star, you can't see consistent result in your life. You can't see it. Consistent result, you can't see it. Because these persons are like principalities. When you look at, one day perhaps God will give us the enablement. We'll talk about the spiritual organogram of our system. You would see that each element has its position from the head to the toe, and the fire element is the only element that controls the pivotal, the head, the crown of the being, wherein the earth element has to do with the feet. When we go into that teaching, you will see the diverse dimension, the diverse position. So if you are a fire element, or you have a strong connection with the fire element, and you do not have the culture of making prayers for your head, or maybe you go to different places and they keep putting their hands on your head in the name of prayer, this one you go to, sooner or later that authority within you will be compromised. There are many persons wherein, by virtue of diverse kinds of, in quote, deliverances that have been administered to them, their crowns and their authorities have been ceded. You must be careful whom you just go for them to put their hands on your head. You must be careful. You must be careful. You must be careful. You must guide your head. When I'm talking about head, I'm talking metaphorically. I'm not just talking about your physical head. I'm talking about the crown of your authority. The Bible talked about man in Psalm chapter 8. It said, "What is man that thou so mindful of him?" He said, "For you have crowned his head with glory." You have made him a little bit lower than the Elohim, than the angels. Fire element. And so you need 6 of these things, bitter cola. Either 6 or 12. Do not forget, if your fire element, your number is number 6 or number 12. 6 or 12. If you're doing giving for people, let it be 6 baskets of whatever you're giving. If it's money, let it be 600, either 600 or 60 or 1002 or 12. Either 6 or 12. Ensure that whatsoever you are doing falls within the number 6 and 12. So you do this bitter cola, use 6 or 12 for the feeding of your star. And you also need honey. Honey is a crown. Honey is a stabilizer. Honey is a crowner. Honey is something that enforces or enthrones kings. You need honey. So you get this 6 bitter cola. I've thought so much about how well we can feed our stars on Instagram, but for the sake of those who are on YouTube. And so you likewise, like I said, you bite it here, top and bottom. You chew it, do not swallow it. You take a portion of it, you put it on the crown of your head. You take another portion of it, you put it on your belly button. You take another portion of it, you use your right hand, you put it on your left toe, your big toe. You use your left hand, you put it on your left toe, on your right hand to your left toe, your left hand to your right toe. It's going to be in form of a cross. The significance of that is for protection. And so you will do that. The first bitter cola you chew, you cut. You use the second one again until it completes it. If you want to use 6, fine. Perhaps you are led to use 6. If you want to use 12, fine. But do not use anything. If it's above 6, don't use 6 or 12. Then you also drop a little portion of this honey on your head as well. And also on all those positions wherein you have placed that bitter cola. You could do it before you sleep. Maybe last thing before you sleep. Then for this process, it is expedient for the more. Spirituality is not something that you do today, tomorrow morning. Oh, I had my bath last night. Oh, I'm very fine. I don't have. No. Spirituality is a lifestyle. And so you repeat this process once every 6 days. I am talking specifically to those connected to the fire element. You either repeat it once every 6 days, or should you not be able to carry out within 6 days, you can do it once every 12 days, or once every 6 weeks, or once every 12 weeks, or once every 6 months, or once every 12 months. These numbers you must take into consideration specifically, especially for those whose energy is strongly associated with the fire element. This is the spiritual counselor. Bye for now.